What's up, everybody? This is Angel Ghost Girl here. I'm known as your host, Angelica. And today we're going to be doing haunted reads. And haunted reads is like a little series thing I do where I read pretty much any content aloud, like books and magazines on the paranormal and stuff like that. Right now we're reading Paranormal, Ghosts, Aliens, and the Unexplained, Haunted Grounds, The Mysteries of Bigfoot, Witches of the Past and Present. And the book looks like, well, the front of the book looks like this, so yeah. I don't know if I can show that one other part in there, so I'm not gonna show that. So right now we are reading about psychics, which have something to do pretty much with the paranormal, because a lot of psychic mediums are brought in for different paranormal investigations sometimes. So they're pretty connected with the paranormal. So that's why I'm going to read this section. There's some sections in this magazine though that I'll be saving for Halloween, because it's more supernatural than paranormal. So without further ado, we're going to get into page 52 of this magazine. And right now we're going to be reading about like divination, palm reading and stuff like that, and clairvoyance and stuff. Palmistry booms. Closely related to the use of tarot cards for the purpose of predicting the future in the 19th century was a revived interest in palmistry. European interest in palmistry grew at this time, a development usually dated to the 1839 publication of Casimir Stanislas Departie's book called Chairmancy. Meanwhile, Adrien Adolphe de Bellos, a French artist who studied palm reading and often is considered the father of modern chairmancy, published Les Mysteries de la Main, The Mysteries of Hand, in 1859, a foundational text in the field. In 1889, Catherine St. Hill founded the Triumphal Society of Great Britain, an organization dedicated to promoting the science of palm reading based on Departie's and de Bellos' works. Like spiritualism, the chairmancy movement was enormously popular in the first decade of the 20th century, but went into steep decline around 1930 when the world spiraled into the economic crisis and political unrest that would lead to World War II. Before we move to this next page, we're going to read this at the bottom. A map of the hand from a 1648 manual on chairmancy or palm reading. Top illustrations from tarot cards created by Atelina, the first person to create a tarot deck specially intended for divination. I don't know if I said her name right. Sounds like my niece's name. Now this one says clairvoyance and occult societies. There was also an upsurge of interest in clairvoyance and related activities in the 19th century and early 20th centuries. For instance, Daniel Douglas Home, a Scottish-born American clairvoyant, conducted hundreds of seances in the United States and Europe, and won the admiration and support of all known authors and occult enthusiast Arthur Conan Doyle. One of the most famous psychics of the era was Edgar Cayce, an American who began experiencing prophetic visions as a child and went on to become famous for the accuracy of his predictions, winning the admiration of such prominent people as Thomas Dekker, seriously, that's an actor, Thomas Edison and Woodrow Wilson. In 1875, a Russian immigrant to the United States named Helena Blavatsky co-founded the Theosophical Society in New York City. Blavatsky, a philosopher, occultist, and spiritualist, sought to blend science, religion, and philosophy into her religion's cult movement known as Theosophy, if that's even said right. Despite being attacked as a hoax, Theosophy found worldwide, hence through an interest in the movement peaked around 1930 and declined thereafter. At about the same time that Blavatsky found the Theosophical Society in New York City, 3 Englishmen, Sam L. M. Mathers, and William Young Westcott, and William Robert Woodman, founded the Isis Serena Temple in London, the first temple of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a society formed for the practice of various occult arts and paranormal activities. There were some internal political divisions after the turn of the 20th century. In the 1930s. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, like the I can't even, yeah, we're going to skip that part. Occult societies such as London Lodge of Astrologers, known here in 1939, were quite popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. This is a picture of that. I'm just going to read this part again. Occult societies such as London Lodge of Astrologers, known here in 1939, were quite popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So that's just a little picture there. I'm going to get a little bit closer. Just going to read this little corner here too. The popular image of the fortune teller gypsy has gone on pretty much unchanged for centuries. The New Age movement embraced a wide range of paranormal practices, including crystal healing and sacred geometry. I cannot even speak right today. There we go. Society went into steady decline through 2 temples held on until the 1970s. A new age. Though American and British interest in the cult waning during the Great Depression and World War II, this downturn was only temporarily disenchantment with the religious status quo and the atmosphere of radical change in the late 1960s inspired some Americans and those of the nations to begin exploring alternative religious and spiritual traditions, which led to the revived interest in the cult in the various forms of divination, collectively known as the New Age. Undoubtedly, the embrace of non-Western forms of spirituality by celebrities such as George Harrison of the Beatles, coupled with the loosening of immigration restrictions in the United States, contribute to an interest in non-Western forms of divination. A good example of non-Western forms of divination is Feng Shui, the belief that the placement of objects affect one's future, a form of geometry, chancy. I don't know why they put all these words that don't seem English in there. The term New Age has become a catch-all term that emerged to describe a broad array of loosely connected religious practices and spiritual beliefs, including various forms of divination. For instance, Astrologers and poet Linda Goodman's New York Times best-selling books Sun Signs 1968 and Love Signs 1978 played a significant role in introducing a substantial number of Americans to New Age astrology. In 1977, the first Mind, Body, and Spirit Festival, which explored the intersections of religion, spirituality, and the occult, was held in London and spurred similar festivals around the world and the popularity of New Age bookstores. Today, tarot and oracle decks have become popular for home use. Horoscopes can be found in many mainstream magazines and online publications. The spiritual endeavors of mindfulness and meditation are trending, and occult practices such as crystal healing and Reiki have become, if not common, then close to it. Taken all together, it's clear that humanity's desire for psychic knowledge of the future and control over the world through occult practices remains a powerful obsession in the modern world. Are fortune tellers and psychics real? In population culture, the term fortune teller often conjures up the image of mysterious woman wearing scarves and lots of jewelry, who will tell you your fortune for a price using tarot cards, palmistry, or maybe a crystal ball. This idea is centuries old now, and the imagery comes from European ideas about the Indo-Aryan nomadic Roman people. Indeed, the Roman have a long history of divination practices that are important to their culture and spiritual beliefs, which include the idea that only women can be psychic. But the image of this gypsy woman, which is itself a term, has been heavily co-opted by movies and books. She is typically shown traveling in a wagon, maybe with the circus, and exploiting people who come to her for predictions. Though sometimes this character possesses real psychic powers in stories, the popular portrayal of the fortune teller are that she is a sideshow and a swindler. But certainly not everyone believes fortune tellers are frauds. Psychic businesses contribute a $2 billion industry in the United States. While there is no definite evidence proving the legitimacy of their arts, there are a lot of people who believe based on their own experiences. The word psychic is perhaps taken a little more serious than fortune teller by the general public. There was a trend of call-in psychics in the 1990s that did much popularize the idea of ESP, but it likely made more people into skeptics than believers. Long before this, however, numerous government agencies in the US and around the world were taking the idea of psychic powers very seriously and conducted research and experiments into clairvoyant phenomenon. During the Cold War, both the Soviet Union and the United States tried to leverage psychic abilities to their advantage. Based on intelligent estimates that the Soviet were spending millions of rubles per year on psychic phenomenon research. Beginning in the 1970s, various federal agencies began researching remote viewing, a phenomenon in which psychics gather information about people and objects using what was called traveling clairvoyance. For instance, in 1972, the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, wanted to develop a program to use psychic powers for national security. It recruited Gowler and Israel, former paratrooper, famed for his ability to bend spoons, apparently through telekinesis. For the purpose, declassified CIA documents show Gowler was sometimes able to draw pictures that mirrored target images that had been randomly selected and then created in another room, and then he had no access to the CIA. Recruited several alleged psychics at this time. Although, let's see where I was. I just lost myself here. Selected. Though the intelligence they produced was often either inaccurate or so vague as to be useless, and the agency ended its program. Despite these appointing results at the CIA, in the 1978 Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, established a special Army unit at Maryland's Fort Meade to do its own study on whether psychic phenomena exist and had any national security possibilities. Between 1978 and 1984, an Army veteran named Joseph Managle, I think I said that right, was alleged to have remote viewing powers and participated in some 450 missions, including work that helped the Army find hostages in Iran. A woman named Angela Dalforia Ford, who is supposed to possess a similar talent, told 48 Hours that she located a customs agent who had gone on the lam, predicting that he was in Lowell, Wyoming. He was in fact caught not terribly far from a town called Lovewell, Wyoming. In one particular memorable experiment, U.S. Army soldiers tried to kill goats by using psychic powers to stop the animals' hearts, a program made famous in 2004 book The Men Who Stare at Goats by John Ransom and sequence film of the same name. Over nearly the next 20 years, the program, which was known by a variety of names, produced little in the way of tangible results. These research programs into the supernatural were long kept quiet and even denied by officials. In 1995, however, often in evaluation of the various programs, the CIA admitted the Pentagon had been doing research into psychic abilities for years. It released a report stating that Project Stargate, as the research program was the name, had not been successful, and that it remained unclear whether the existence of a paranormal phenomenon, remote viewing, has been demonstrated. The report did also admit, though, that some experiments had successes, indicating that something beyond odd statistical hiccups is taking place, but also pointed out flaws in the investigators' abilities that might have contaminated the results. With the end of the Cold War and the uncertainty of the program's results, the CIA shuttered Project Stargate the same year it released its report. And constant proof of psychic phenomena remains inclusive. So I'm going to read this one part here, and this is where we're going to leave off for now. And this is Uri Geller, one of the world's most famous self-proclaimed psychics, was hugely popular in the 1970s when CIA recruited him for its own investigations into psychic activities. And this would be him right there. Some of these names are probably butchering. though. And this is another one. The men who stare at goats popularized the U.S. Army's experiments with psychic powers. Here, Jeff Bridges played Army Officer Bill DeGanjo, probably said that wrong, in a scene from that movie. So this is, I think, an actor portraying somebody, one of these characters in a movie. And that'll be it for now. And next time we'll be doing page 58, which will be on the enduring words of Nostradamus, which will be the next part that we're going to do. So if you like videos like this, then like and subscribe. And till next time, everybody, sweet dreams, or may I say sweet nightmares.